high school people didn't get me. You know, once I got to college, I felt seen, but like that would be the redhead.
Yeah, I'm still the guy yelling dominant male monkey motherfucker and counting on everyone to break the fight up for me. It was well calculated. Mike's a smart guy.
It was. I liked it.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside me are my co-hosts, Ash Air Rage Schlafly.
Hi, y'all.
And Big D, Dick Ebert.
Good evening.
And each week we take a look back in time and decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, or want to choose one for yourself, please visit us at shatthemovies.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes the movie would take to get off your respective butts. So thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share with a friend. That's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV, where we review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Lovecraft Country, Game of Thrones, True Detective, and Watchmen. You can find all that information and past episodes at shatontv.com. Finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live all week long, you can follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatthemovies.com/Twitch, where we play video games, host watch parties, and end each week with a Shappy Hour cocktail party at 9 Eastern. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing today?
Gene, if you were going to describe our podcast, you would say it was the Arnold Schwarzenegger podcast, or the second category, which we review the most, which is probably the most typical 80s and 90s movies that most of us remember from growing up. And those are the wonderful coming-of-age comedies. And this week we are doing one of our listeners, Jake V, decided to commission the 1993 coming-of-age comedy, Dazed and Confused.
When they wrote in and said, "Good evening, Shat Crew. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. I'd like to start off by saying thanks to all of you for the countless hours running this podcast. I hope you know that your hard work is appreciated by many. Judging by the onslaught of commissions, I think you know that as well. Keep up the great work, and thank you, Ash, for joining the crew. It has made it that much better." All right. The commission movie I'm proud to tie my name to is Dazed and Confused. Quite frankly, I was shocked that this wasn't reviewed or commissioned before. Perhaps I'm building it up too much in my head, but when I think of 90s cult classics, this has to be in my top 5. It's got a great cast of rising stars, including the premiere of the Matthew McConaughey. It's got quotes upon quotes still used today, and it's got arguably the greatest movie soundtrack of all time. There are very few movies I will happily rewatch as soon as the credits roll, and this makes the list. I don't even fit the demographic for this movie. I'm not a child or a teen of the 70s. I was born in 89. I don't indulge in the devil's lettuce and didn't even see this movie until after I was out of college. But there's just something about it that puts me in a good mood the entire time I watch it. Seeing life outside of cell phones where the teens know to conglomerate at certain locations or just cruise around reminds me of high school a little. And I can relate to both Mitch and Pink's struggles to an extent, but that's about it. I do enjoy storylines where you enter and exit in one day's time. I love Superbad as well as a few others I can't think of now. Perhaps the fine Shat crew can articulate better than I what makes this movie so great. P.S. Thanks, Big D, for the love for Kingpin. Would love to get at least a third vote to help rectify Roger's abysmal 4.5 rating of that gem. Hashtag justice for Kingpin. Thanks for all you do, and I hope you enjoy. Jake V from Michigan.
I like that Jake did hashtag justice for Kingpin, and all Big D sees is justice for Big D's rating system adjustment score.
You are completely wrong. I wrote Jake back personally and thanked him for his write-up, and I said hashtag justice for Kingpin.
Well, Jake, I'm so proud of you for being a wee baby born in 89 and still appreciating this movie. Cult classics from the 90s, trying to get people younger than myself to appreciate them. I mean, Ash is an outlier, and she'll argue she's not that much younger. but showing the younger generation movies like this, they do not get it at all. So I'm glad you do. Dazed and Confused is a 1993 comedy written and directed by Richard Linklater. The film features a large ensemble cast of actors who would later become stars, including Ben Affleck, Mila Jovovich, Cole Hauser, Parker Posey, Adam Goldberg, Joey Lauren Adams, Matthew McConaughey, Nikki Katt, Renee Zellweger, and Rory Cochrane. The plot follows different groups of Texas teenagers during the last day of school in 1976. Dazed and Confused was a commercial disappointment at the box office, grossing less than $8 million in the U.S. Despite this, the film has enjoyed critical and commercial success over the years and has since become a cult film. It ranked third on Entertainment Weekly magazine's list of the 50 best high school movies. Big D, you are the senior member of this podcast. We'll start with you. What are your memories of Dazed and Confused?
So I do not remember the first time that I saw this, where I was, but I did some mental detective work and I did some association with events around when I saw it. And I remember after seeing it, the soundtrack was great. So I went out to a used CD store. I bought this soundtrack and the garbage self-titled debut. So since that was, I think, 96, I had to have been, somebody sold it. So maybe 1998 was when I saw it.
That's such a specific memory.
I don't know why. I can picture holding the two discs in my hand.
Which
know
was
why.
the self-titled, the pink one that looked
the
like
pink
a boa?
one with like the whatever, like flowers on it or whatever it is.
I love you, Shirley Manson. Well, I saw this at some point in high school and I loved it. I'm a huge Richard Linklater fan. I think he's absolutely wonderful. I think he's an amazing director. And I think out of all of his films, this is one of the best. I have lots of great memories of watching this with different friendship groups in high school and then in college and then post-college. And I was really excited to get to watch this one again. A little nervous because I was afraid that maybe some of it wouldn't hold up well in 2021, but super excited to get to see it.
Yeah, Dazed and Confused came out on DVD right around when I stopped being dependent on my family for movie rentals, right? So before this, it was like my mom rented it or my cousin rented it, my uncle rented it. Here was the first time where I had friends who were just old enough to drive to the video store and make rentals. And I remember we watched this movie and I was shocked because of the drug and alcohol used in the movie. I vowed, I was like, I'll never be like that. That's so scary and dangerous and risky.
Dangerous.
I've spent the rest of my life lying to myself, guys. Big D, let's get to the trailer.
This country is founded by people who were in the aliens, man. George Washington, man, he was in a cult. And the cult was in the aliens, man. You didn't know that?
No.
Oh, man, they were way into that type of stuff, man. You're getting air from there, man. It's no good.
It was the last day of school.
Miss Crawford, I was thinking that maybe you and I can get together over the summer. I mean, it'll be legal. I mean, we can make...
It was the first day of summer vacation.
You guys know anything about a party here tonight? No, sir.
It was a time they will never forget.
There's a new fiesta in the making as we speak.
I thought he was cute.
Oh, that's disgusting. You thought he was cute?
Do you realize when he graduated, we were like 3 years old?
If only they could remember it.
Okay. So you're not going to go to law school? What do you want to do then? I want to dance. You going to be quarterback next year? I don't know. I might not even play.
It's May 28th, 1976, the last day of school at Lee High School in Austin, Texas. The next year's group of seniors are preparing for the annual hazing of the incoming freshmen. Randall Pink Floyd, the school's star football player, is asked to sign a pledge promising not to take drugs during the summer. When classes end, the incoming freshman boys are hunted down by the seniors and paddled. The incoming freshman girls are also hazed. They're rounded up in the school parking lot by senior girls, covered in mustard, ketchup, flour, and raw eggs, and forced to propose to senior boys.
Okay, so I know, Gene, you just listed out the cast, like some famous people that were in this. And so just for those of you who maybe don't recognize the names, you've got Lucas from Empire Records, right? Hopefully, Big D, you enjoyed his performance more in this one.
Much better.
Yeah. You've got one of the London twins, not the one that gets killed by the tractor in The Man on the Moon, but the other one. You've got Mila Jovovich, very young Mila Jovovich. You've got Anthony fucking Rapp. Shout out to the original Mark and Rent. He's amazing. You've got the original, Good Will Hunting twins here with Cole Haas and Ben Affleck, who looks really meaty in this one, guys. He was kind of meaty and he was kind of gross. You've got beautiful Joey Lauren Adams. You've got an amazing Parker Posey. You've got all these people. And I think that that's what I love about Linklater films is if you've not seen a lot of them, they're basically just beautiful people that come together to do life. And that's what this cast does. It's just a group of people who do little bitty parts of like the banality of our everydays. And that should be boring. It should be like how I felt in The Final Countdown. But for some reason, when he does it, it isn't. It's actually really, really interesting and engaging.
I owe Joey Lauren Adams an apology because I forgot she existed. And I spent half the movie thinking that Linklater did a great job making Renee Zellweger attractive. Wrong person. But, putting together an all-star cast like we saw in Cannonball Run is fun, right? When you got the money to do it and you got the prestige and the star power and you go out there and you get your Dean Martins, you get your Sammy Davis Jr.'s, you get your Burt Reynolds. But putting together a cast of future somebodies that really embody the spirit of oddball films that will be coming out for the next decade, that is something else. That is a rare talent. And as she pointed out, Linklater's influence in this movie as the director, and I think we don't do that often enough when we're covering movies, really talk about the director and how important their vision is to making a movie. We recently did Detroit Rock City, which I love. But I have to admit, after watching Dazed and Confused, Detroit Rock City feels so polished and so corporate and so flashy when it's compared to Dazed and Confused. Linklater is a real indie movie director. He has that pedigree, and you can feel the way he lets things just breathe more like real life. And if you watch his other movies like Boyhood or Waking Life, he dared to do creative things, and it helps and it hurts. This movie is unique in that way. But it was a pretty messy opening 10 minutes. I know Big D loves character intros. Where it's who is this guy? Show me what he's about. What archetype does he fit into? And Linklater refused to do that. For the first 10 minutes, you're just watching this hodgepodge of kids that pretty much all look alike and sound alike. And you're like, okay, who's who? What are they different? What's this guy's special power? No, they're just kids.
Yeah, and my favorite of his movies are the Before Sunrise, Before Sunset, those films. And God help us if anybody ever commissions them, because if Big D thought that the people in Clerks talked a lot and elitist, then he's going to hate Ethan Hawke in that one. But I love him and find him uber attractive. And I think that that's the thing with Linklater is that his movies are either super heavy in dialogue or they're heavy in this passage of time. And so Boyhood, he's just tracking this strange, banality to the passage of time. And that's what this movie is, right? It's just about the passing of one day, really just a 12-hour stretch. And so you don't get to see what happened before and you don't get to see what happens after. And having the balls to do something like that, I think that it's a pretty amazing thing.
Gene, normally I would agree with you. Tell me who it is, what's going on, let me understand and get into the world. But with this, I think it's because it's such a short window, like you said, Ash, it's 12 hours. I'm completely on board. I'm okay with it. I kept thinking of this movie as like a haunting, like a ghost story, right? Where I'm the spirit of a high school kid who's trapped on Earth. And I just keep jumping from group to group to group. I'm not interacting with anyone. I'm just observing. And for that small window, I thought it worked. I thought it was pleasant to go back to a time that I wasn't necessarily familiar with. This period of like the 70s, I was still a wee little baby. So to see it as an observer, I thought it really worked for that type of story.
I remember in 1993 watching this and thinking it was a haunting. It was from so long ago. It was the distant past, 1976. It's the old times on screen. Guys, this was 17 years prior to 1993. 1976 to 1993, it's 17 years. That would be like a movie today about 2004.
Oh, I know. Yeah. That's crazy. It's like a totally different time. And I think what stands true and what stands the passage of time is that every generation thinks their generation sucks. When they're up at the moon tower, they're talking about, the 50s were boring. The 60s rocked. The 70s are, of course, we're stuck there. Maybe the 80s will be rad. I found myself thinking the 70s look so cool. The 80s were a little more artificial. Back in the 70s, everything just seemed grounded And it seemed like a time I would have loved growing up.
I'd 100% take the 70s over the 80s.
I take the 90s over both, so.
Well, freshman Mitch Kramer escapes the initial hazing with his best friend Carl Burnett, but is later cornered after a baseball game and violently paddled. Fred O'Banion, participating in the hazing tradition for a second year after failing to graduate, delights in punishing Mitch. Pink gives the injured Mitch a ride home and offers to take him cruising with friends that night. Plans for the evening are ruined, however, when Kevin Pickford's parents discover his intention to host a keg party. Elsewhere, the intellectual trio of Cynthia, Tony, and Mike decide to participate in the evening's festivities. Pink and his friend David Wooderson, a man in his early 20s who still socializes with high school students, pick up Mitch and head for the Emporium, a pool hall frequented by teenagers.
Okay, so as I'm watching this, I think I had some geographic problems with the subject matter. So I grew up in New York, and the Northeast, I felt was a very different place. This world they're displaying, it felt like a foreign film to me, because I know that high school football in the South, it is the king. You got the Friday night lights. The whole town seems to revolve around the team and the players. In New York, yeah, you like the high school players, but it was more balanced. It was basketball, it was football, it was baseball. But at no point did the entire team kind of get off for whatever the hell they wanted to do. The cops wouldn't give them a pass. They weren't like getting patted on the back by elderly people throughout the whole town. And there's no way that you could drive around New York with a paddle chasing kids and they'd go, yeah, that's just the football players. Bullshit. They'd get shot. That shit wouldn't happen in the North.
Man, I've lived in Northern California, like not the coast. I'm not talking about Oakland and San Francisco. I'm not talking about the Bay. I'm talking about like inland, like Yuba Sutter counties. Or I've also lived in West Central Ohio. And this most definitely is real, even as recently as like 20 years ago. I helped one of our listeners, J Mill, who used to be my roommate, cover high school football when I lived in California. And the coaches and players in these towns, like Marysville, were treated like gods. Newspaper subscribers, they wouldn't call in if you made a mistake on some political story or some story involving like their taxes. But if you fucked up regarding a football player or the stats on a game or something like that, everybody would call in. They would demand retractions. This is the biggest thing in their life, at least during football season.
Well, I'll call bullshit on one thing. The reason why I forgot this was Texas is because they would have died dressed like that in the summer in Texas. Because already, like, you can't go outside with pants longer than your knees because it's so fucking hot already here in Texas. But as far as the football goes, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's big, but it's everybody I know from all over the country, like football stars were gods in their towns. And now Texas is worse. I mean, our football players at the high school level make well over six figures here. I mean, they are gods in and of themselves. But the Friday Night Lights thing, I don't know if that was a thing already in the 70s.
But like, so now follow up, Wooderson, does that guy still live in these towns? Is he like the previous player who walks around like with his jacket on and people
they're Lettermans, yeah. And
do they laugh at him, or do they kind of say, oh, there's Wooderson, he was great back in, 72?
No, I mean, I think that there's a little bit of like, that's sad. But no, I mean, those people still really matter.
And Big D, talking about the hazing, though, and the whole community being behind it. I mean, Mike says it in the movie flat out. He's like, what's fascinating is the community seems to be supporting this, which was my thoughts while I was watching it. And I was shocked because, again, I didn't really hang with this sort of crowd. In Arizona, it wasn't as wild. Again, there was nobody chasing us with paddles in the streets in Arizona when I was a kid. I don't know what it was like in 76. But Sarah went to high school in Michigan, like in rural Michigan, Port Huron. And she said that it was way worse than what we see here in the movie, that they had high school sororities. And as a part of this, the girls were handcuffed to older boys and then just told to do whatever the boys wanted. Parents would pay for them to have dances, like not a school dance, but like a sorority dance, where they were actually not only provided alcohol, but forced to drink. These are teenage girls.
Wow.
I've never heard of a high school sorority. That's nuts. I mean, I was in a college sorority, and I mean, the hazing wasn't bad. I mean, we did like this running of the bowls thing. That's what it was called, where like all the fraternity guys like throw shit at you, like ketchup and mustard and that kind of shit at you when you're going to like get your bids. But it wasn't that bad. But freshman year, I was required to participate in initiation in high school though, because I was in dance. And so you had these geeky band kids that like were supposed to be mean, and they made us wear makeup. And the meanest thing they did was they made me wear my pants backwards, which, you know, was dumb, but not mean.
Seems like all the sororities love to use condiments. That's part of all their hazing. Get some mustard, some ketchup, some mayo. But to go back to this time frame in the movie, and the cars I thought were fucking dynamite. I could not take my eyes off of them. I grew up in the 80s, which I think was the worst time for cars. Like my first car was a 1982 Volkswagen Rabbit, which I got in like 1990. So we were fighting with the whole gas shortage, and all cars were now becoming smaller. They all were like 4 cylinders. It was just trash. And watching this movie, every car that came on screen, I was like, holy fuck, that is a cool looking car. I wish I could have that. I wish I could have that. And I think the 70s were a perfect time because you could get one of these badass muscle cars, a truck, or the cars from the 50s and the 60s were still within that range that, like you said, Gene, like it's us buying a car from 2000. They were affordable. But if you go back and watch, there is a 70 Chevelle, a 72 C10, there's a 64 Buick Electra, there's a 74 Cadillac DeVille, there's an El Camino, there's a badass Chevy 3100, there's a Coronet in it, a Ford Bronco, a Ford Maverick, there's a Pontiac GTO, there's a Plymouth Duster, there's a Trans Am, and then, of course, that convertible Beetle, which I think every high school kid would like idolize and want to have. So this movie, as far as cars was, it was fucking great.
By the way, big exciting news, everybody. If you haven't heard, the Maverick is coming back. Ooh. Ford is reintroducing a tiny pickup, and I'm super excited about it. Keep an eye out for that. But Big D, I agree. The cars were a character in this movie. Like they were a character in and of themselves. If you weren't even paying attention, you could still stop every 2 seconds and go, God, that's a really cool car. And not only were they cool looking, they provided a cool way for different groupings of kids to be isolated with each other. I found that really enjoyable in this movie where it would be like, these 4 kids are going off. Now these 3 are going off in another car. Every combination gave you a different dynamic. It was like a mini movie inside of the movie, and it made it so much more fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really notice the cars at all, but I did notice one thing I could relate to. I mean, the Beetle, one of our friends had a Beetle. And now they have like weird flower holders on them. You see that?
Well, they stopped. Rest in peace. They stopped making them.
Ash, they've been doing that for about 20 years.
Yeah, see, I mean, I know nothing about cars, but I do know about the senior friends thing. So Mitch here in our movie, he is kind of taken in. He's the freshman. He's kind of taken in by this group of seniors, specifically Pink, kind of takes him under his wing, and he gets to go out drinking with them and partying with them. And this made me think a lot about my own high school experience because I had 3 friends my freshman year. They were seniors, and they taught me about school, about what I needed to do to survive. They protected me from some really gross boys. They set me up with some not so gross boys that if I hadn't had senior friends, I never would have been able to get. I got to go to senior prom my freshman year because of them. And I don't know, it really meant a lot to me. Like it was kind of like this rite of passage. And when I was a senior, there are these 2 freshmen that I kind of adopted and did the same thing for. And what I love about this movie is examples like this. This is some real life things. This happens in high school. It's a big part of high school for a lot of people, myself included. And I thought it was a really nice part of this movie.
I come from a typical immigrant family in the US where I have like 100,000 cousins. And it was so important to growing up in the sense that there was always 3 or 4 kids older than me at my school that I was related to. And it does mean the world, Ash. My older cousin Maji, who is a chiropractor, house DJ, rapper, golfer, and owns a CrossFit gym. He did this for me. I was this chubby, like overly sensitive dork of a kid writing, poetry, not really being able to relate to people my age. And I don't know why. I don't know why he did it. Just a good fucking guy. He would take me to hip hop shows. He would like introduce me to the rappers like Lighter Shade of Brown. He would take me to the recording studio and like let me hang out when they were like cutting tracks and let me like play with beat mixing and like just meet people and understand music a little bit better. And he even made me mixtapes. So like cassette tapes when I was a kid so that I could get into the music that, you know, obviously my mom's not going to fucking take me, or like kids my age didn't even know about it. It was like this older high school shit, right? And I actually was cleaning out my garage yesterday and I found a tape and I almost started crying. It was like Kool Moe Dee, Sir Mix-a-Lot, you know, on tape. But, you know, the tapes can only fit like, you know, 5 songs on it or whatever. So I just have these stacks of tapes. But you're absolutely right. I think more important than anything for a kid, perhaps, is having just those older kids that take you under their wing and show you around. I mean, how much better would you guys feel as parents where their first party or their first night out or their first time hanging out without you, your kids had an older person looking out for them, right? An older kid that was roughly their age, but a few years older, just looking out.
Yeah, and Pink, he isn't a bad guy. Like, the advice he's giving him isn't insane. Like, he's not letting him get so wasted he's going to get alcohol poisoning. Like, you know, I mean, he really is mentoring him in a way. And speaking of alcohol and the weed, I know, Gene, you talked about how when you were watching it, you were appalled by their drug use. Well, I, for some reason in my head, have always thought about this in like a catalog of drug movies. So way back when I was just a baby fan of Shat, I wrote in and recommended a category for voting that was drug films. And one of the ones that's in there is Dazed and Confused. But upon watching those guys, it really isn't. I mean, Basketball Diaries, this is not, right? Like, kids, this is not. And I think the keg scene really proves that because, yeah, they're drinking beer, they're smoking some weed, whatever, but it's pretty innocuous compared to a lot of movies. And these are just normal kids doing normal things, abusing normal substances.
Well, Mitch is introduced to sophomore Julie Sims, with whom he shares a mutual attraction. While cruising again with Pink, Pickford, and Dawn Dawson, Mitch drinks beer and smokes marijuana for the first time. After they destroy his mailbox, a neighborhood resident holds him at gunpoint, and they escape. After returning to the Emporium, Mitch runs into his middle school friends, and they hatch a plan to get revenge on O'Banion.
Okay, so if you haven't seen this movie ever, or you haven't seen it recently, I'm going to break it down to you in a very simple way. The 70s were a much, much simpler time, and this movie shows it. So this is what it consists of in the day that we see. Groups of people will drive around. They see other groups of people who are also driving around. They see each other. They say, hey, what's up? Nothing. All right, see you later. Then they drive around. They find another group, do the same thing, and repeat. It made me so nostalgic for my days as like an adolescent kid in this time, where it was just so simple. It was innocent is the way you could say it, but it was just nice to really have nothing going on.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think about kids today, like hosting Twitch streams, right? Like, that's fun. Like, get your gaming system going, run it through OBS. Then you got to start up Twitch, get everybody on there. You got to manage your community. You're watching to see if you get your subs and your cheers, and you're just kind of keep track of everything, playing your game. You got to rack up your points, compare yourself to other people getting in those chat lobbies. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, I got to say, this looks way cooler than 2021. The 70s, like, why would you want to do work on your time off, man? Like, you're out of school. Just go fucking cruise around and have some beers, dumbass. Yeah. What are we doing with our lives? Why are we doing a podcast? This is stupid.
Well, it's because nobody knew what everybody else was doing. There's that scene where it's like, hey, what you going to do later? It's like, I don't know, drink some beers. It's like, cool, we'll see you later. Like, there was no FOMO because you couldn't see what everybody else was doing. And like today, because you can see it all, it's like, well, shit, I'm missing out on all this shit and I need to be a part of it. So you create content to be a part of the shit. They didn't have that in the 70s or 80s.
But I think half of the shit that people post is bullshit. It's not real. It's people are like posting it to look cool. I think that here it shows what really life is. It's just people sitting around doing nothing. And I think that's what people are doing a majority of the time.
Yo, but we got to be real about this. Think about the actual 90s when we were all hanging out. What did you always do, though? You were in the place for like 15 minutes, like, man, we should go check something else out. We always did that.
Yes, but that's what it was. That was our, hey, we're going to go around to another group, find them where they are, and say, hey, what you doing? Nothing.
But like, I felt really bad for the fucking kid who was like making out with a chick at the junior high thing. And they're like, come on, let's go. This is lame. Let's get out of here. I'm like, no, dude, stay there. I've been in this situation. Yes. It's not going to get better. You're making out. Stay there. And that poor girl, she looks so disappointed.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Well, I mean, we keep talking about all these great things about the movie, but there are these little moments that kind of keep it from being a perfect film. And one of them is this whole prank scene. So they're going out, they're in the car, and they decide to destroy these mailboxes. And I remember when I was watching this as a kid, like I didn't really care about it. But as an adult with a house payment who's lost a mailbox that insurance does not cover, I got real pissed watching this scene because, I mean, that's a lot of fucking, it cost us almost $2,000 to replace our mailbox, right? Like it was.
What kind of mailbox do you have? Is this like a gold encrusted like eagle?
It's these mailboxes they have that are bricked in the neighborhood. They're required by the HOA. But if the shit gets messed up, the HOA doesn't pay to replace them. You got to pay to replace it.
It's this full-time employee. It's just a Pakistani man who stands at the end of the driveway and catches the mail and brings it to them.
That's absolutely it. They stab it with like a scepter and then come bring it to me. It's very dramatic. No, it's just a bricked mailbox with this wrought iron piece again that we didn't pick out. Everybody in our neighborhood has them.
How does a brick mailbox with a wrought iron piece get damaged? What are your neighborhood
Somebody
kids
ran
hitting?
into it.
With
we had a kid,
car or a truck?
car. Yeah, they ran into it with their car and knocked it over.
You didn't look for a car that was missing the front half?
No, we know who did it. We know who did it. It was a kid.
Hey, go get that fucking kid. Pull out your handgun, Texas style, and go catch him in the gas station.
We don't own guns in my house, but as a kid, I would have never done this. Now, we like toilet papered people's house like as a part of like pranks in like middle school, but I never truly like destroyed somebody else's property. I mean, is this something you guys, maybe I'm just super lame, but was this something y'all would have done?
I'm just expecting the email to come into our Shat inbox, hosts at shatmovies.com. Like, hey, this is Andy from Houston. I'm a full-time burglar, and I just wanted to say, Ash, thank you for letting me know you have no guns in your home as I come in and take your fucking silver crusted plates.
They will not take anything, and we have no silver encrusted plates. Please attack the people across the street because they're not very nice.
It's the fucking eagle's nest over there. Ash, I agree, though. It takes a certain degree of anger at the world to just break other people's shit. I've never felt the compulsion to vandalize anything. Like, I can't even bring myself to carve my name into a tree. Or, when people are hiking and they make those cairns, like they stack the rocks.
Yeah.
I can't even do that. I'm like,
you're so lame.
Like, I'm sorry, nature. I will leave you.
Oh my God.
I dust after the dog prints when we go on hikes.
No, so as I apologized a few weeks ago about shoplifting, I want to continue my my what do they call it?
Apology tour.
Okay, I didn't damage people's stuff, but I had a habit in college when I would get really hammered and angry that I would break exit signs. That I did do. Because of my height, they were a good level where I would just straight up like Mike Tyson punch them.
Oh my God.
So, like on the highway or at a bar?
No, in like the dorms. In the dorms.
He doesn't mean a highway exit. He just pulls his car over, punches exit 467, pulls over 468.
So if I came home shit-faced and I was angry at something, those red signs were just like a red cape to a bull. I would just destroy them. And I'm sorry. I apologize, everyone. I know it didn't mean anything. It was just me lashing out at my issues, so I apologize.
Okay, big question here. Everybody knows the big quote from Dazed and Confused is, "That's what I love about teenage girls. I keep getting older. They stay the same age," right? That's Wooderson, yep. Matthew McConaughey. I gotta ask, is he a creep or the best dude ever? Because, yeah, that's pedophilic shit. But he never seems to actually do anything wrong. Like, it seems like he's being funny because this dude sets up the party. He takes care of people. He like gets a girl's number, but he doesn't like push it with her. And I feel like when people think back on this movie, I know when we were about to watch it, I was like, oh, fuck, what am I going to say about this? And then I was relieved to see like, he seems all right.
Yeah. He doesn't go, I'm going to fuck her. He says, oh, she seems really nice. And he takes his time to get to know her.
Well, and he doesn't pick the sexy ones. He picks the nerdy girl. Like, you would like predict that he's going to go out trying to get the Joey Lauren Adams and the Parker Posey, but he doesn't. He picks the nerdy girl, and none of the girls he's hitting on are like not 18. Like, they're all seniors. Like, he's not like he's hitting on like Sabrina. And so, no, I don't think he's creepy. I hooked up with this dude, I'm sure.
So Ash, that was going to be my follow-up question. It's like, we saw in like Napoleon Dynamite, we got like Uncle Rico, right? Which is basically like another version of Wooderson, reliving past glories and all that stuff, kind of even dress alike. But I got to say, when Wooderson like walks in the Emporium and they're playing Bob Dylan's A Hurricane and he's got that cigarette rolled in his sleeve, I'm like, this dude's cool. I'd fuck him. So I'm asking Ash, I guess you answered the question already. Is this dude fuckable?
Yeah, he's totally fuckable. I mean, I was 18. I dated like a 24-year-old, a 23, 24-year-old, and we're still really good friends. And y'all, he's still not a creepy dude. Like, he's actually and he doesn't, you know what? He doesn't hook up with 18-year-olds anymore. Like, he grew out of that, but like, he's a cool guy. So yeah, he's totally fuckable. The only thing I don't buy is Matthew McConaughey does not look like he's in his early 20s. He already looks like 35, but he looks good in those pants, a lot better than Ben Affleck did.
But Gene, I think you're right. Not only did he show the women respect, I thought he was cool to everybody.
Yeah.
He seemed to have a good heart. He just seemed to be a guy who couldn't let go. And that was one of the biggest changes in my memory. I thought he was going to be more like the Ben Affleck dick, but having fun at the kid's expense. It was anything but.
Yeah, he wasn't lame. I was predicting that he was going to come across as lame, but he wasn't. And I think the other person you're seeing here that's got some coolness to him is Mitch. There's something about some freshmen that come in, right? That you can tell that these are going to be the popular kids one day. There's that little X factor that they have. And all I could think was how sorry I was for Carl and his other friends, because like their days as Mitch's friends were like totally numbered, right? And I think that there's this weird thing that happens with cliques between junior high and high school. So like some kids like Mitch, like you're picked up, like you're chosen in sort of way, and you leave behind like the lame kids that you used to be friends with. And at least that was my experience. I saw that happen. And I think that Mitch, he's going to be leaving those loser kids from the sock hop. They're going to be left behind pretty soon.
Fuck those guys. Fuck those guys. Yeah. Mitch is going to get hounded by a bunch of dudes with paddles. They're on the baseball field. They've got fucking bats.
Yeah.
You know what? 8 of you with baseball bats could take on a bunch of dudes with paddles, or they're at least not going to fuck with you because you got a bat. What do? They all bail on him. Fuck those guys. Mitch, he's a badass, deserves better friends, and he needs to move on. And I think they really nailed the casting on Mitch. I mean, we talked about all the stars that came out of this. Wiley Wiggins, not really a household name, didn't really go on to do great things. Kind of looks like dog shit right now.
Yeah,
but in this movie, the casting was just right. He looks almost elementary school aged, but then he grows as the movie grows. And you're right, Ash. He's exactly the type that would be socially elevated the way you described, because at his core, like, Mitch is cool as fuck. And he shows it when he's buying beer and he starts repeating the stuff he heard from Wooderson. And he's just shooting the shit with that old guy at the store, which is, that guy's probably my age. I was like, fuck yeah, dude. Mitch is badass. The way he like looks at girls, that smile, his swagger. He just shows that you don't have to look mature or be a big dude to be the shit.
But there's two things working in his favor. Number one, his older sister is popular. Number two, he earns it. When his friends bail on him, does he come over there and beg and whimper? He takes his shit like a fucking man. He takes his shit. He doesn't beg. He goes out there and receives his beating, and he doesn't complain. He takes his beer, and instantly they see something in him.
Did you just describe somebody taking a butt paddling as doing it like a man?
Fuck yes, he did. It's like, when the enemy catches you and they're trying to tell you, like, where is the treasure, Dr. Jones? Where is it? For Indy to fucking not back down, not cower. He doesn't care if his dad dies. He's going to fucking, maybe he did. That's why he went to look for the chalice.
The grail.
Christ. He went to look. But all these kids, Gene, you're talking about casting. Yes, the characters are perfect. The actors are perfect. But what's even more perfect, I think, is that balance of characters. I found an article that The Ringer did, and it was how to build the perfect cast archetypes. And they go through everything, like the wannabe anarchist, the soulful jock, the dumb jock, the popular girls, the nerd who fucks. They go through all these different categories of the typical, like the sidekick, the flawed but loving dad, the villain. And they talk about, of course, in here, Wooderson. But I wanted to know, in this movie, Gene, I could see you as a big part Mike, but then also Clint. So I was thinking of you as a hybrid. Which would you be? And Ashley, which would you be?
So Ash would be the nerd who fucks, I think. But as far as for those of you listening at home who might not have seen this movie in a while, Clint is like the tough guy that picks on Mike at the moon tower, right? He's the hothead. He's got the other muscle car. He's kind of like a rival to Wooderson. Mm-hmm. That's Clint. And then Mike, of course, is the curly haired dude in the back of the car who's like super nerdy, whatever. I'm 100% Mike. I did this on a regular basis where everyone else is trying to have a good time. I'm in the back in the car. I'm talking politics. I'm obsessed with the Charge of the Light Brigade. Like that's me in high school. And I would get in fights against stupid fucking odds because someone insulted me, or even if I felt there was a perceived injustice to someone else, I felt the need to walk up to people that were a lot fucking bigger than me and just get my fucking face pounded in. So yeah, Mike, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely Cynthia, the redhead in this one, Mike's friend. I mean, I'm definitely her. I mean, there's a reason why, like, I dated older guys. It's because, like, high school people didn't get me, you know. Once I got to college, I felt seen, but, like, that would be the redhead.
Yeah, I'm still the guy yelling dominant male monkey motherfucker and counting on everyone to break the fight up for me. It was well calculated. Mike's a smart guy.
It was. I liked it.
After the Emporium closes, an impromptu keg party is planned in a field under a moonlight tower. Cynthia, Tony, and Mike arrive at their first keg party, where Mike is threatened by tough guy Clint Bruno. Tony runs into freshman Sabrina Davis, whom he met earlier during the hazing, and they begin hanging out together. Cynthia likes Wooderson and exchanges phone numbers with him, and Mike decides to make a stand, punches Clint, and gets tackled. The fight is broken up by Pink and Wooderson, and Mitch leaves the keg party with Julie. They drive to a nearby hill overlooking town to make out, and Tony gives Sabrina a ride home, and they kiss goodnight.
So at this point in the movie, the nostalgia parade continues for me. And I just found myself right back in the early 80s. And this party, it is a microcosm of adult life, where everything is possible, who you could be, what you want to do. And there's nothing more exciting than possibilities. Like not knowing where am I going to go in life and discovering who you are and the direction you're going to go and the endless possibilities where the future is wide open. And this party wasn't so much as a party for me. It was like a gateway. It was like an exciting point for all these kids in their life to see where they would go.
Yeah, and what I like about it is, like, we see these insane parties usually in coming of age movies. I mean, look at 16 Candles, where we talked about, like, how shitty Jake's friends were for totally trashing his house. Like, that's typically what we get with the party scenes. But what I like about this is I think it was pretty reflective of what real high school parties, at least the ones I went to, were actually like. They're pretty chill. And, you know, sometimes there's a fight. There's lots of different cliques there. There's lots of different people there. And it's just people hanging out with their friends and not getting like so wasty that they can't, you know, make it home, but getting drunk and having friends, you know, bring them out to the woods and give them some handies and make out with them and then go back and join the party afterwards. I mean, that's what high school parties were like for me. And I liked seeing that actually on screen.
Ash, you mentioned not getting wasty, but just having a couple of drinks and having a good time. Yeah. You know, the King Bee used to host rent parties at his house. Like, that's how he would pay his rent. We would make these amazing concert-worthy flyers. Like, we had one for Fiesta Bueno that is beautiful. I'll post it on the Shat Instagram. Absolutely gorgeous flyer. We'd go to Alpha Graphics where our friends worked. We'd run them off. And then we would just go get a keg of shitty beer, label it something good. So, for instance, we get like PBR, and we'd say, it's Stella. And then we would charge a couple bucks a cup, and he would pay his rent. There was fights, there was dancing, beautiful women. I mean, just good times.
Was that one of the fights where you got your jaw broken? Or
that was him. I've never had my jaw broken. That was the King Bee.
Oh, okay.
But never. That wasn't at his house. That was when we were old. No. When we were young.
When you were old.
Yeah. No, when we were young, I might have told the story on the pod before, but there was one party where I come out the front door, the King Bee is standing over a guy. There's just a puddle of blood, and the King Bee's got his hands out like vulture wings, just breathing heavily. And he drops the fucking line, "I am Godzilla and you are Japan." I was like, did you just fucking, I think you quoted like Bottle Rocket or some shit. It was fucking great.
No, I was thinking about the one where King Bee got his jaw broken.
Oh yeah.
Said, "Fight's over, stop," and called an Uber and left.
Yeah, he just walked down to the edge of the corner. Yeah, I called it. He had his eye socket broken. His jaw had to be wired shut for 8 weeks, and I had to puree soup and feed it to him through like pour it in there. The best part though is I don't know if you've ever had your jaw wired shut, but you can't like brush your teeth from the inside. Oh. So what you do is we take a squeezy bottle with a straw. We squeeze the water back behind the back teeth, and then he would have to hold his head over a bucket, and we just let it drain out from the front.
Oh,
the man needs a woman in his life to do these things for him.
He was still getting laid while his jaw was wired shut. Imagine fucking a dude with like food stuck behind his wired shut jaw. He can't shave his face. he was still getting laid and messaging me going, she won't leave.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. The way you're describing this, I'm picturing, you know how in your sinks, one is like the garbage disposal and the other one has that wire mesh that collects all the food. I'm picturing that as the inside of King Bee's mouth and the odor that's just coming out.
Yeah. That's accurate. That's 100% accurate. Gross. But listen, not a man to be fucked with. He just had one bad fight.
Oof.
We're still going to get him in the ring. He's still got a chance. We'll take any comers. Well, Pink, Wooderson, Don, Ron Slater, and several others decide to smoke pot on the 50-yard line of the football field. Police arrive and they call Coach Conrad, who lectures Pink about hanging out with losers. Pink leaves with his friends to get tickets to an Aerosmith concert, and Mitch arrives home after sunrise to find his mother's waited up for him. He goes to his bedroom, puts on headphones, and listens to Slow Ride by Foghat as Pink, Wooderson, Slater, and Simone Kerr travel down a highway to purchase their tickets. So, Big D, you mentioned that kegger kind of being the gateway to infinite possibilities, a microcosm of their adult lives. When they're on the football field, we get this moment of reflection from all of them, what it all means to them. They're opening up to each other. And Pink says something effective like, if this is the coolest I'm going to get, just kill me, right? Like, he doesn't want this to be the peak of his life. I got to say, I'm sorry, but this is the coolest you'll ever get. Your senior year of high school, all of you, it is the coolest you will ever be. Yesterday, some 13-year-olds walked by my driveway, and Sarah and I, with all the options in the world on a Saturday, we've got dual incomes, we're 21 and older, we could go buy beer, whatever we want, we know people who deal drugs. We were spending our Saturday drinking beer and organizing the garage. That's awesome. Organizing the garage. Yeah. And these kids walked by, and one of them said, cool Miata. And like, I nearly did a cartwheel because that kid is cooler than I'll ever be. If you're deemed cool by a high school kid, you are the fucking coolest. And that's not just my opinion. I've got some science to back this up. So check it out here. All right. So the unique chemicals in your brain when you're a teenager, right? That mix of hormones and chemicals in your brain, it makes you crave novelty and it makes you open to new things. You just want to always be doing the new thing. And you experience your highs and lows so much stronger. So combine that with boundless energy and a lack of responsibility, it makes a teenager the coolest person alive.
I just think you're not around enough of them because I vehemently disagree with this. I think teenagers are absolute asshats. Back when I was in high school, my parents would have killed me for coming in this late. I mean, I didn't have a curfew, but I think it was pretty understood that I needed to come in before dawn. So typically we would stay at my friend Michelle's house, whose parents could give a fuck. And that's where we would stay. But my parents would not have been cool with me staying out all night, especially at 14. And by the time I was a senior, I don't think they really gave a fuck. But when I was 14, like, no way.
No, I had one episode in high school. My Swedish cousin had come to visit with her friend, another Swedish girl who was the same age, maybe 17. So you can imagine they were very popular. We went to a high school party. On a bet, I drank a 750 milliliter bottle of Absolute. Next second I know, it is probably 15 hours later. I'm on the couch with a giant pot of puke, and my parents are standing there. My cousin and the friend walked home alone to find my parents' house. To punish me, my parents made me stand in the yard and rake pears from our pear tree all day in 90 degrees. I wanted to die. To this day, I cannot smell Absolute without cringing. And it was one of those big moments in my life that I think altered the course of where I went.
Ash, you mentioned that your parents just wanted you to be home by dawn. I think we would have made a great couple in high school because my only rule that my mom had was that she has to be gone before breakfast.
Yeah.
Like my mom was like, I do not want to see some random ass skank at my breakfast table.
Yeah.
As long as they're gone before breakfast, you're good.
Yeah.
Worked out great for me.
Yeah, my dad had the talk with me when I was 16, and he's like, you really shouldn't stay over because they'll think it's too serious, and if you get pregnant, don't tell your mother, we'll take care of it. Like, that was my talk from my dad. So,
Army dad!
You know, like, yeah. But I have to say, so they all come home. So Mitch has come in. His mom, tells him he's got and I love that scene because I feel like this is the kind of mom I'm going to be, where it's like, here's your get out of jail free card, right? Yeah. Like, I get it. You're drunk. I'm glad you had fun. Don't fucking do it again without texting me, right? Kind of thing. And I loved that everything ended here. We typically on this pod, we either have like these crazy wrapped up endings with like these little bows that drive me nuts, or we have these really stupid endings like the freeze frames, but not this one. I think we had just enough wrapped up to leave you satisfied. So we could sit here and we could predict where these characters are going next, but we don't really need to, because that isn't shoved down our throats. It's enough that we remember that they're going to get their Aerosmith tickets, that they're on the 2-hour drive to Houston. We remember that. We remember them. And it's enough for me to be satisfied to walk away. And I feel like most movies try to walk that line. And it's really hard because most fail, but Linklater does it here. And I loved every second of the end of this movie.
Oh, I totally agree. This is the end of my ghost haunting story. As we're driving down the street, it's like my character, okay, I can go. I've done what I needed to do on this earthly. And then I float off into the sky. It was a perfect ending. Perfect.
So are you like, what are you, like the leader of the pack teenager that died in a motorcycle accident?
Yes, I tried to jump the gorge on my motorcycle.
Oh, you're the cool rider.
In Grease 2.5, and I died. And so this is me coming back to make sure that all of the characters get to where they should be.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Nice.
All right, Ash, Big D, now is the time when we give our wipe scores. The wipe scores are our way of telling you how many wipes the movie would take to get off your respective butts. Zero Wipe is a perfect movie. It is a 1972 Chevy C10 in all its glory, beaming in the Austin sun. 5 Wipes is an absolute disaster of a movie. It is Big D on the couch with his puke pot. We'll start with you, Ash. What is your score for Dazed and Confused?
So this movie held up really nicely for me. I did think the hazing was mean. The paddling scenes went on way too long for my liking. And I did think there were some little blips like the vandalism sections that I didn't think were necessary. But the dialogue is so good in this movie. It's not forced. They didn't make teenagers sound stupid like in Spring Awakening where they say like, oh my God, constantly. Nobody talks like that. The acting was great. And I thought a lot of it was still really perfect. I forgot that this is one of my favorite coming of age films. It holds up. It's a great time capsule of what it means for school to end, what summer meant, at least to me when I was a kid, that I was free and got to hang out with my friends. And I think it's also a great remembrance of how it feels to be on this precipice of growing up and that you're about to be an adult. So that was a really strong movie. So I'm giving it a strong score. It's 1 wipe for me.
All right, 1 wipe from Ash. Jake, I want to thank you for commissioning this movie so soon after we did Detroit Rock City to really be able to compare the two movies, because Dazed and Confused and Detroit Rock City really epitomize the difference between a nostalgia movie made in 1993 and a nostalgia movie made in 1999. Detroit Rock City is so much more polished. It's zippy. It's action-packed. It's flashy, right? It is a very 1999 movie. But Dazed and Confused is so much more 1993. It's so much more real, substantial, artistic, and relatable. And I love both movies, and I have to give the same score here. So, Ash, I agree with you. This is a 1 wipe movie.
So, guys, I agree. I surprisingly really like this movie. I started out somewhere in the 2 area, but as it went on, I found myself really embracing that there wasn't a focal plot that ran all the way through. There wasn't some event that changed the characters. There was nothing they had to discover about themselves to come to a happy conclusion. The characters were real. I love that the parents were real. I love the fact that they touched on things that you normally wouldn't touch on, like the mailboxes, the stupid shit, the neighbor pulling the gun. We didn't need a resolution on any of that. Everyone was insecure. There was no cool kid who was above everybody else. We saw even the cool kids' insecurities, and that was a really nice change for me. So I think that this movie was really good. It was a wonderful experience. Just go back and kind of put your toe back in the 70s. So I'm going to give it a 1.3 wipe score.
All right, so Big D's 1.3 wipes, my 1, and Ash's 1 gives us an average wipe score for Dazed and Confused of 1.13 repeating wipes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I would like to change my score to 1.132 wipes. I mean, what the fuck? 1.3?
It's come on. It's all about you know what I'm doing? I'm dialing in my scores. I'm thinking and I'm doing like a little Scantron as the movie goes, and I'm trying to be precise.
Now, I hear that actually because it seems like Big D is gaming it so that we don't have ties with other movies. But when you think about it, now that we have so many movies that we reviewed, you look back at your own scores and go, okay, is this better or worse than this other movie that I gave gave 1 wipe? Is it better or worse than this movie I gave 1.5 wipes? Is it better or worse than this movie I gave 1.25 wipes? And you get at somewhere at 1.3. It's very scientific.
So if you notice, when we started about even 3 minutes ago, I had a 1.4. But I said, you know what? I think this movie is better, but
this is not getting better.
But I don't think it is a full like quarter wipe. But I said, okay, I can knock it down, 1/10. So I think I'm just trying to do the movies and the listeners justice. So Gene, with a wipe score now of 1.133 repeating wipes, that now puts this movie alone in the 39 spot. It is slightly better than Coming to America, Raising Arizona, and Braveheart. And it is slightly worse than True Lies, Indiana Jones' Last Crusade, and Sling Blade.
Nothing is better than Raising Arizona.
I don't know. I think I enjoyed this as much as I don't think it's better, but I enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed Raising Arizona.
Raising Arizona had all that highbrow New York comedy. Right?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my God.
Well, thanks, Jake, for reminding us of how excellent Dazed and Confused is. Big D, we have some voicemail and email this week covering Cannonball Run, which we recently released.
Yes, Gene, here's our first voicemail for Cannonball Run.
Hey guys, this is Richard. I just finished listening to your guys' review for the Cannonball Run, and I gotta say, when Gene Lyons was talking about going 65 miles an hour, I felt that because I totally know how he feels. I go 70 all the time, even in the parts of Utah where the speed limit's 80 miles an hour, I still go 70. I don't care. But yeah, I just wanted to say all those people you guys mentioned were in the Cannonball Run, but they were also in Smokey and the Bandit too. Terry Bradshaw, Joe Klecko, Mel Tillis, all those guys also had cameos in that. Yeah, so if you guys sound like you had a pretty good time loving up on Burt Reynolds, maybe I'll have to commission Smokey and the Bandit too. Let me know what you guys think of that. So anyways, I'll let you guys get going. I love the podcast, love you guys' reviews, and Big D, the Army sucks, the Marine Corps is the best. Thanks, guys. Bye.
No.
Oh, I noticed at the end there, he does like a, like he wasn't quite sure about what he was saying. I respect the Marines. I do. Every Marine, their first MOS is infantry. So if you're a cook, you go through the same thing. So I respect the Marines. I only make fun of the Navy and the Air Force. So please, I love the Marines.
I think that was him choking on a crayon.
Well, and I have to say, I've been taking a new route to work, you guys. It's this road called 99 where you can drive basically as fast as you want. It's like NASCAR or like the Autobahn. And I feel like I go faster now because I think of you, Gene, when I reach like that 65-mile limit. And I go, you know what? Fuck this, Gene Lyons. And I'm like driving like 95 to work. So you've increased my commute time. It's just nice.
Gene also joined me on a recent highway drive. My Ford Edge has an economy gauge. And I'm normally really bad because the car comes with 22. So I average like in the 20-mile range. And I felt Gene being like, slow down. It'll be better. Slow down. But as far as Smokey and the Bandit, hell yes. Another movie that's got the song, eastbound and down, we get up and trucking. We got to do it.
I got to point out, though, that Richard doesn't want Smokey and the Bandit. He wants Smokey and the Bandit 2, which got a 14% on Rotten Tomatoes. I say bring it.
I'm still down for it, yeah. Our second voicemail for Cannonball Run comes from one of our regulars, Flavor Dave.
Hey guys, it's been a while. I don't know, in a funk, life kind of blows goats every once in a while, but you get over it. Feel a little better now. I can't believe I've been sending you guys voicemails for like 6 months, and I'm still nervous every time I send one. So I listened to Cannonball Run today, and it was one of my I want to say top 10 maybe. There are so many points that I love that I had to send in a voicemail for it. And there were so many points I had to make some notes for it. So I got my own notes. First one up is cigarette smoke. Dude, Gene, as soon as you said that, I'm like, get the fuck. My dad was a constant smoker. And I had like a stuffed animal, dog. And I would just bury my nose into this dog and smell that smell. And I really, as a kid, I didn't know that it was cigarette smoke. But now that I'm older and I smell it every once in a while when I'm around other smokers, I'm like, oh shit, that's that smell. But I digress.
So good.
Jackie Chan. I too, when watching Cannonball Run 25 years ago, loved Jackie Chan, recognized him, and was like, oh, just because I like Jackie Chan, I want him to fucking win. So I was always rooting for the Team Subaru. Plus, I love Subarus. Yes, Rat Race. It is basically Cannonball Run in the 2000s, but with money. Not a very good movie from what I remember, but I do remember Mr. Bean. 65 miles an hour, yes. Currently, the speed limit is 55. I'm doing 59, just because I like to go at least 4 over. But I don't, if the speed limit's 70, I will not go over 70. And if I could, I'll do 65. But like you said, you get those RPMs up so high, you're just killing your gas mileage. That's fact.
Thank you.
Ash, Don DeLuise. Yes, the only movie I knew him from, and I was hoping you were going to say it, and you said it, All Dogs Go to Heaven. Haven't watched it in a long time, but I do remember crying a lot towards the end. Big D, Chris Farley. Now that I'm older, it's like, he is a hack. Now that when I hear him and see him on TV these days, I'm just like, he says, oh my God, oh my God. It's like he's trying to be a commentator for fucking WWF. Yes, that's right, I said WWF. And last but not least, the Shat Team Saga. I got 2 more episodes left. It's all in my brain. I just got to write them all out. I'm halfway done writing one, and I'm going to try to get those out hopefully tonight so that they can draw them up and we can play them Friday. See you guys Friday. Love you guys. Bye.
So true to his word, Flavor Dave did get an episode 7 of the Shat Team Saga that we've been featuring on Shappy Hour. So we'll have that up this week, actually. But yeah, Flavor Dave, thanks for calling in. And thanks, Richard, for calling in. If you guys would like to call in, you can leave us a voicemail at 914-719-SHAT. We have a couple more that we have to hold till next week. But Ash, we do have an email in from Nathan.
Well, Nathan writes, hello. I began to actively search for podcasts to listen to while I drive. I drive a lot for work. Born in 1979, I am your exact demographic. I also happen to be a film critic. Humble brag. Like you, that's not really how I make money. Like nearly all film critics, it's more of a passion. But as a voting critic member, I do get early screenings and access to all the movies during award season. Next to my wife and kids, it's my proudest accomplishment. Anyway, I have been jumping around through all your past reviews since I discovered you a few months ago in September 2020. In fact, I actually began with your Game of Thrones. I'm a huge fan of the show, and I love listening, even though the show had been done for over a year, and I had already seen the series several times over. You guys did a great detailed analysis, and your fans had fantastic observations, including Ash at the time. And I fully realize the show slipped immensely, but defend it nonetheless. I appreciate Big D's take when he just accepted that the quality dropped, but I still appreciated and enjoyed it for its overall impact and brilliance. Anyway, I have actually done some reviews on the radio and have guest hosted other podcasts. I'm not soliciting a job, but on the contrary, I'm complimenting your abilities and recognize them as better than my own on-air experiences. I don't even consistently listen to the podcast of my friends and colleagues, but I listen to you regularly. Gene, be okay to sound like a movie critic. When reviewing Ace Ventura, and I believe other times, you've mentioned that you don't want to sound like a movie critic with this sort of movie, as if that's a negative. Own it. It's okay to have criticism and compliments, no matter the genre. Movie critics love movies, and just like you all, we do it because we love it. And you are excellent at it. You all are. I always take into the genre and my feelings. Being a critic is combining the technical aspects with the emotional, and you guys do it well. Even when I disagree and think you are flat out wrong about something. But usually there's always at least one person who has the correct take, so I've never been outraged at an entire review. I even agree that Blade Runner is overrated. However, I still would not have scored it quite as poorly as you guys did. Love the show. You guys are most excellent. I have listened to you for a few hours nearly every day for the past few months, so it will be an odd adjustment moving to the 1 hour a week now that I'm mostly caught up. But thank you for the time. Nathan S.
Nathan, thanks for writing in. And I don't know if you guys heard, but today I saw the news that George R.R. Martin just got like a 8-figure deal from HBO to continue writing for TV, which probably means that the book's never coming out, guys.
Yep.
I've given up.
Never.
But Nathan, thank you for the words of encouragement. It always makes us get all tingly inside to see other people who are reviewers and podcasters write in and let us know that we're doing it right. Because we really don't know. I don't know if we sound like we know, but we really don't know. When I listen to other people like Kevin Brackett, I'm like, I'm so fucking out of my depth, man. And then, but we do our thing. I think it's our chemistry. It's our time to get together once a week. And obviously we love the listener feedback as well. So thanks so much to Nathan Swink from flick66.com and member of the Kansas City Film Critics Circle.
Whoa. Fancy.
Well, that's it for our voicemail and email for the week. Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
Gene, next week we have another commission coming in, and this one is a movie that tells the tale about friends, Sam and Mitch, who need $50,000 to pay for Sam's dad's needed heart surgery. When they're fired for getting revenge on their abusive theater-owning boss, they have a great money-making idea, a revenge-for-hire business. The friends are soon successful, but not all their clients are good customers. When real estate developer Travis tricks them into vandalizing a building that isn't his, Sam and Mitch concoct their best revenge plan yet. Commissioned by Jacob B. It was released in 1998, and it is one of those movies that I have a very tiny memory of. Wasn't a big hit, but I think a lot of people are passionate about it.
I definitely am. It's one of my favorite movies, and I also love that it was directed by Bob Saget, who needs to make more movies because he's a fucking genius. But thank you, Jacob, for commissioning the upcoming movie, and thank you, Jake, for commissioning Dazed and Confused. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share it with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. We're on TikTok, too. You can also email us at hosts@shatthemovies.com. and support us by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, completing a free anonymous survey to help attract advertisers, buying our merch, or commissioning your own movie. Find all that information by visiting our website, shatthemovies.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. We review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all that information on our website, shatontv.com, wherever fine podcasts can be found, including iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe, and if you stop by iTunes, please leave a review. That helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Ash Schlafly, and Big D, Dick Ebert, I'm Gene Lyons. Be sure to join us next week for the following movie.
Meet Mitch Weaver.
Hey, that's my shirt.
In the game of life, he's losing his shirt.
Ah! You're not fit to wear this shirt.
Mitch can't hold a job.
You're fired.
You get a horse and live in the mountains someplace and don't bother anybody. Got a personality like a dead moth.
Mitch is no good at relationships.
I'm through wasting my life with you.
Note to self, making love to blow-up dolls, not as good as advertised.
Mitch lacks people skills.
Hey, that was really funny, sicking the cops on us like that.
I thought it was funny, but I'm surprised you guys did because you got your asses kicked.
I guess I showed you a thing or two about dirty work.
But there is one thing Mitch Weaver is good at.
You are the king of revenge. We should open a revenge-for-hire business.
I think you boys can help me.
Okay, settle down, prostitutes. You each get $20, and this requires no sex. Well, you got a dead hooker in the trunk.
No, it can't be.
I've never seen so many dead hookers in all my life.
Lord knows I have.
Don't shoot this! This is not part of the commercial! Is some jerk making your life miserable? You want revenge? Let us do your dirty work.
Yeah! Norm Macdonald of Saturday Night Live.
Hey, I think he's got his thumb up that dog's.
Chevy Chase.
What happened to your foot?
When you owe a bookie a lot of money, and you say blows off one of your toes, you still owe him the money. Doesn't seem fair to me.
For anyone too weak to fight back.
We're in prison. You know what prisoners do to each other all the time?
All right, let's go.
You sure you don't want him to?
For anyone who's ever landed on the bottom, your time has come.
You didn't count on my loyal army of prostitutes, did you?
Are you ready for some crazy rough sex?
When I say let's go, you go.
Time you shut your cake hole, you'll go. Hey, movie line. Oh, how's that looking, baby?
He was supposed to keep driving.
Dirty work.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi.
You got your pants back on?
Okay.
You got your right bra on?
I don't care about my bra.
Tits
No,
line?
I mean, it's just like,
What?
pants are hard.
I'm not wearing pants.
I'm not wearing pants either. I just don't mean I'm wearing clothing.
Yeah.